waves rolling in. Sand is surfing, let the truth begin.
Diving deep where others fear to go. Promaga fire putting on a show. Sammy's dancing left and right, he spins. Aloha spirit, that's where it begins.
Hey, hey, Santa, ride that silver wave. Sammy grooving, nothing left to say. Banks are shaking, squeezes feeling tight. First lady shining in a silver dress bright.
Trump's returning, victory inside. Beach broadcast booming every day and night. Aloha joy.
Hold that dream so high.
Aloha, this is Santa Surfing. Welcome to Beach Broadcast. Today is Thursday, May 28th, 2026. In 2 more days, Tina Peters is free. Oh my goodness, is that symbolic of what is coming? There's so much I'm going to cover in this podcast, guys, so get yourself all nice and comfy. You can find my shows on YouTube. I do want to thank you for joining us on santasurfing.locals.com. We talk about things, we dive a lot deeper than what I share on my podcast, and ordinarily it does come to fruition in the news. But if you want to go ahead and join us, it's on santasurfing.locals.com, and I do lives every Thursday at 3:30 East Coast time, so I'll be having one later today. You can find my podcast on this new YouTube channel, and then the day after you can find it on Rumble. Our show is sponsored by Goldco, and Goldco is a precious metals IRA. Now, if you've been thinking about your retirement, your retirement account, your 401k, it might have been sitting stagnant. You might want to look into some alternatives and how that can grow, and also have it backed by precious metals, whether it be gold or silver. This company also sells gold and silver, so they're a dealer for gold and silver coins. Recommended by Sean Hannity, Laura Trump, Tom Selleck, Dennis Quaid. So big names do recommend this company. You can also ask Goldco about how you can earn up to $10,000 in free silver. So secure your retirement funds in gold and silver by contacting Goldco. Go to santasurfinglikesgold.com or go to the sponsor link below and click on that link. And our show is sponsored by Meta 247 now, and they provide ivermectin and fenbendazole. There's a lot of news now popping up about just how ivermectin and fenbendazole, but specifically ivermectin, has really been an incredible life-saving cure, if you will. Again, you decide. This is a company that provides that. There's no doctor's note needed, and there's no form to fill out. It's just very simple to order. Many of you have already been ahead of this, so you've been ordering ivermectin through Meta 247 now, but for those that are very new, you're going to start seeing a lot of news on how this is helping with people with cancer or other types of ailments. So contact Meta 247 now by scanning the QR code, or you can simply call 888-749-0261. That's 888-749-0261, or you can go to Meta 247 now. They are still offering 20 additional ivermectin pills for any ivermectin order. I couldn't record a podcast yesterday because I was buffering like crazy. So it was God's way of saying, just check out. So I got a chance to do a little bit of digging, and it was awesome. President Trump, he put out a post, and it really is a GESARA push. Also, there's news on Venezuela and what Marco Rubio said yesterday. ICE action, IRS audit launderers, the purge is happening. There's a lot more I'm covering in this podcast. So we're doing a little bit of cleaning house, cleaning the Congress, cleaning the Senate. Traitors are exposed and or voted out. Ken Paxton won. That was President Trump's push. John Cornyn, he's out. He's done. Bye-bye. January 6th will be his last day. Go ahead, sail off into the sunset. And then Christian Menefee won against Al Green. Remember, Al Green's the guy that was in Congress and screaming at the last 2 State of the Unions, and he got kicked out of both. Now he is bye-bye, gone. So now we've got Christian Menefee that's in place. Now, granted, this is a Democrat, but my point is that even if we had, what if we have Democrats that are pro Make America First, and just putting America first? How big would that be? So anyway, good news is Al Green is gone. Out of all of President Trump's endorsements, he's batting 1,000. He's like 100% on his endorsements and what he won. The news is now reporting this. CNN and NBC, they're going crazy. So it's cleaning house. Media is probably scared too, because, they're We know how the fake news media has been really bad for us, right? But I'll get to that in just a second. So America was and is infiltrated by public servants, and they have no alliance to this country. Their alliance is to other nations, other intelligence groups, dirty media, formation of terrorist groups, are basically their alliances to our enemies. President Trump, he posted this about Obama. I did share this the other day, but I kind of want to remind you that he keeps repeating this because he wants it ingrained in our heads about what not president, but what this loser Barry did during his time there. Money laundering to other nations to bring it back is to the sender is, in this case, it was the Biden regime. This was a 2024 report on how Blinken, under Biden, he was making sure that we send as much money to Ukraine as possible before Trump takes office. Now, you can click on this link to listen to him. Biden has committed to making sure that every dollar we have to our disposal will be pushed out the door between now and January 20th. They could not afford to have, again, this is back in right after the election of 2024. They could not, what they wanted to do is get all that money out there, launder it, and then get it sent back to the public servants here in our own country. But what they did is they were President Trump just went ahead and, again, he wasn't the public eye president, so he just watched all of this happen while they were committing their treason and also their laundering. So it gets a little bit more interesting. This is a really great post by real_Rob, and he's got great posts, by the way. It was on August 17th of 2025. Terrorism is disguised as foreign aid, all in the name of children are starving. Doesn't that sound familiar, right? Tim Burchett, are you aware that we are sending $40 million a week to the Taliban? I'm going to play this for you and then I'll kind of walk you through this here because this kind of gives you an idea of what President Trump is taking down. The Beekeeper, if you watch the movie The Beekeeper, you see how fast that movie how quickly this one person was taking down the dirty everything and moving at lightning speed. Listen to this hearing, and oh my gosh, the people that are being questioned, they were happily giving information to Tim Burchett. Check this out.
From Tennessee, Mr. Burchett, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Mr. Roman, are you aware that we are sending $40 million a week to the Taliban?
Yes, sir.
Can you name other instances of foreign aid going to terrorist organizations?
We have assisted al-Shabaab in Somalia. There's been instances of the Khamsi network in Sudan, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, Hezbollah, Kataib al-Hezbollah, Hayat Tahrir al-Shams in Syria. Dozens of terror organizations have received indirect assistance from U.S. foreign aid.
Could you elaborate a little bit on the mechanisms in place that are to stop foreign aid from going to terrorist groups, and why are they not working if we have any in place?
Sure.
And I would note that these are, you notice, these are terrorist weaponry. You see some AKs, SKSs, some snipers, some clips, some clip carriers probably made in China, and I believe these are small landmines here beside right there.
Let's use Gaza as our case study. $2.1 billion in American taxpayers' money to Gaza since October 7th when Hamas invaded southern Israel. USAID money was going in terms of an emergency use authorization to try to go to parties that USAID formerly had a relationship with in the Gaza Strip. They had to have been vetted by OFAC. They should have been vetted against the special designated terror list from the State Department and from other Treasury organizations. Waivers were granted because they said that there was an emergency use to have that money come in to Gaza, thereby jettisoning the usual typical screening procedures. As a result, 90% of aid that was going from the United States by way of its agents in Gaza ended up in Hamas control.
If you click on the image on the article link is below in the comment section. If you click on that link, you can see this full 5-minute hearing segment on Tim Burchett questioning these individuals, but this one kind of sums it up. They were supposed to go through OPEC and through a terrorist watch group, and they were waived. Now, this is really what it boils down to, and this is what President Trump is working so hard to do. to destroy the swamp, and not just the swamp here, but the swamp all around the world. So Tim Burchett, he's asking that question about the $40 million a week to Taliban. U.S. paid $2 billion to Gaza. After October 7th, U.S. aid paid $3 million to a rapper in Gaza to produce anti-Semitic rap songs. Again, Samantha Power, the terror administration for U.S. aid, was intent on preventing Israel from defending itself. U.S. aid funded the Taliban $40 million per week. And then the terror organizations, and here's the list of all the terror organizations that, again, our own country, our own public servants were funding to work against us and also humanity around the world. Why am I bringing this up now? It's going to tie in with what President Trump is trying to do. Operatives are working against the good of the country, the good of the world, funding bioweapons against the people, and allowing the human abuse crimes. Here's an article. It is U.S. aid funding both Wuhan lab gain of function research and Smartmatic election systems as no kings. They had all these code phrases and code words and code everything about, feed the starving children and feeding our future. And they were all scandals. And we're seeing it domestically happening in Minnesota, California. Nick Shirley, thank you so much for exposing all of that. Other street podcasters are going out and doing the same thing. I think it's great. But the public servants here in America, they think they're getting away with it because they are used to a very dirty government. They're used to a dirty president, which isn't President Trump. President Trump is doing everything squeaky clean. They're used to getting away with so much. That's why there's so much resentment, and they share a lot of lies because they know that their days of freedom are almost done. However, I want to share a little clip from yesterday's cabinet meeting that might give you a little bit of to do the Sammy dance, but these are examples of what Ilhan has done. She changed her birth year. These are coming from liberal articles, guys. Ilhan changed her birth year so that it shows. So basically what she did is she says, I became a citizen before before I turned 18 years old. That automatically grandfathers her in to become an American citizen. She didn't take the test. She didn't go through the certificate process. She was automatically sworn in. Well, she made that change in 2019 after she became a congressperson. So there's that one fraud. Now, I'll tie it into what I'm going to share in just a moment. Give me about 5-6 minutes here. But she changed that. So she changed it so that she looked like she was younger because she was 18. And at the age of 18, if you come in here through the naturalization process, you come to America. Her father, if he became a citizen before she was 18, she gets grandfathered in. If she was 18, she has to go for her own citizenship. Okay, so there's number one. The other part is that she did marry her brother. Il Donato even posted that on December. Oh my gosh, she did marry her brother. I was just talking bleep. We were all talking bleep because nobody believed us, but now it's coming out and there's the marriage certificate. We know this account, Il Donato, President Trump, boss man, is ahead of the game in terms of the narrative and in terms of the news that does eventually come out. So she married her brother, and that's considered more of the immigration fraud because President Trump says that's highly illegal. President Trump, he went off on her and he really wants her deported, but listen to what he says in the cabinet meeting and listen to what he says about them getting caught. Check this out.
They're finding billions and billions and billions of dollars, and I just said, that's good. He said, you haven't seen anything yet. Just said that. And, if he does really great, we'll have a balanced budget without having to do anything. This is the kind of money they stole. They're crooks. They're thieves, and I hope that Todd is going to do a real job. These are crooked people. These are thieves. This isn't like a mistake. Just talking about one person, he got hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars for securing one man, for taking care of one elderly man. He was a service. He got paid millions of dollars for taking care of one man. Total crook. They're all crooks. The Somalians, what they've done to Minnesota, the Somalians, they're crooked as hell. Ilhan Omar, crooked as hell. They're all crooks. And we got them. We got them. Now we're putting the clamps on, but boy, I tell you, that's an impressive group of guys that you have behind you. I was watching that, and a couple of very strong women, too.
So he was really telling us that he's already got them. They are already been dealt with. But again, for the normies just coming into, maybe they're just starting to wake up, the conservative Democrats, if there's any, that are waking up and they're saying, what is really going on? Why are all of Trump's endorsed candidates winning? And why are they celebrating somebody that they're not even a party to, like Al Green out of the office? Because we know that we need a clean house, right? So we got to get this Ilhan out, and he already emphasized that he's got them, meaning all of the Somalian fraudsters. Again, I'm kind of revisiting many things because it's going to point to what President Trump's big push is. Loser Barry Obama, he either committed treason or he is in violation of the Espionage Act, depending on which way he decides to move. If he says, I am not a citizen, he's in violation of the Espionage Act. If he says, I am a citizen, my presidency was legal, it was legitimate, we know it wasn't, but then he committed treason. So he has no way out. If you want to click on this link, it is a thread on Obama, but here's, like, for an example, the university that he went to. It says foreign student. Here he admits he's not a U.S. citizen. I wasn't born in Hawaii. He was born in Kenya. Here, Big Mike is even admitting that his home country is Kenya. Here is Tulsi Gabbard, that she exposed their treasonous conspiracy on Russiagate, the DOJ launching grand jury investigations into Russiagate. Again, we are not seeing the results of that yet, because if they start coming out with a grand jury indictment, that would be big. I'm going to get to this part in a minute. President Trump, he calls Obama's acts treason. So Obama and gang tried to rig the election, and they got caught. Obama's done so many crimes. I don't know how many life sentences he's going to get. And then Obama posting this clip on one of the correspondent dinners, and they tried to destroy President, or at the time, businessman Trump, and it only fueled President Trump to fight even harder. Obama's truth is slowly coming out. If he is indicted post-presidency for criminal acts, how would he be treated? Any criminal acts allegedly committed by a former president, such as Barack Obama, after leaving office would not be covered under presidential immunity. Biggest reason why Trump signed an EO on ending cashless bail. So if these turkey butts go to jail, then they're going to say, no, I'm sorry, we cannot. You can't get bailed out. You have to come up with so many billions or millions of dollars. Trump's been working hard all his life to take down the swamp, and there's that one doesn't apply. That one doesn't apply. And then Obama is done. This is a Q post of, when I'm done, it'll be like you were never even here. So he's like, that is a very powerful Q post. And then, how do you know when something very big is getting ready to drop? We know that they do attacks, right? They send out their attack dogs. And then President Trump, he's always had a plan, and it was back then, this is on September 8th of 2024, about the Department of War, and then now he's got the War on Fraud. So I'm going to play the clip of what J.D. Vance says about Ilhan Omar when J.D. Vance did the press briefing last week, and how he hinted about investigating her on the immigration fraud. Check this out.
About the anti-fraud task force, you previously mentioned that Ilhan Omar seemed to have committed immigration fraud. Do you anticipate an indictment against her, an indictment related to that situation?
Yeah, so Reagan, I don't want to prejudge an investigation. I mean, you read the things about Ilhan Omar and about who she married and whether she didn't marry this person or that person. It certainly seems like something fishy is there, but everybody's entitled to equal justice under the laws. So we're going to investigate it. We're going to take a look at it. If we think that there's a crime, we're going to prosecute that crime. And that's something the Department of Justice is looking at right now.
This is a slow-mo Sammy doing the woohoo dance. Yeah, but boy, again, woohoo. My internet must be buffering again. But guys, this is kind of big, guys, all right? Because we know that it'll eventually happen. Gee, I wonder if it's going to happen right before her primary. And then earlier this year, just a couple months ago, that Ilhan Omar, she's already under federal investigation for making millions of dollars while in Congress. Remember that, because there's something that happened to a Google employee about insider trading, which I'll get to in just a moment. Randy Fine, Congressman Fine, he wants dozens of Congress people to give up one of their citizenships. He made it very clear. He says the only oath of allegiance a member of Congress should swear to is the United States of America, and he makes it very clear. He calls it disqualifying dual loyalty act. If you want to serve in Congress, your only citizenship must be American. Okay, so thank you, Randy Fine. So I'm just using Ilhan, Loserberry, there's plenty more. If they were in possession of classified documents, classified information, they're not supposed to be privy to, because they're not either citizens or of the United States, or they weren't given proper security clearances, they would be in violation of the Espionage Act. All right. Now, again, this applies to a lot of things. Hunter Biden, remember all of that classified material that went out on Hillary's computers. How many others were given it, taking it and doling it out very freely? Right down here, the penalty for the Espionage Act has potential penalty of death or life imprisonment. So again, Trump has to play it cool because he's got a lot of big global moving parts. Now, how does this tie into GESARA and what his push is? We can't have crooks running our governments, not just here, but all around the world. That's the big takedown. This is just an example. Here's a CIA officer who lied about everything on his resume. Yes, he served in the military for 20 years, but he was not who he said he was. Well, he was caught with $40 million worth of gold bars, and then he also had foreign currencies as well. Mike Selig reported that about this Google employee got a complaint filed for insider trading. Low-level person got information for the insider trading. And so he says, if I stated repeatedly, if you commit fraud, inside trade, or manipulate markets, you will face the full force of the law. Guys, okay, he is talking manipulate markets. Who does that, right? Big banks, right? We know that. Manipulate precious metals, markets, insider trading. Think about how massive that is, how big that is. Think about those quote unquote elites that traded their stock, and they were all in one big club, right? Then we have people like E. Jean Carroll, who we don't know who funded her, but when she went after Trump twice, she ended up winning a judgment. The dirty courts gave her a judgment of $83.5 million for her defamation suit. The one was on the other harassment suit. And the President Trump, he filed an appeal. The federal appellate court sided with Trump. That means that he didn't have to pay the $83.5 million. Now here comes the karma. She is now facing, get this, criminal investigation into her that she may have committed perjury. And if she did, it's how many counts of perjury did she have? How many times did she lie, guys? Man, she's going to be facing tons of years in prison. And then we've got the DOJ. They're getting prepped. This is where the prepping comes in, because the DOJ put this out there. They are suing states for denying undercover license plates to the states of Washington, Oregon, Maine, and Massachusetts. Just the beginning, guys, because these liberal states, they don't want ICE in their states, so they have their license plates are very clear, and then it causes a lot of danger for the ICE agents because of the crazies that are out there. So that's what they're doing. They're suing them for that. Now we also have this. DHS is drawing up plans to block all international flights into sanctuary city. The sanctuary cities will fizzle away when this begins, guys. So that's a huge development. And then Tom Homan is saying that ICE is at the airports. They're going to make arrests. They're looking for human trafficking and money smuggling. Now, we also know that there are different kinds of agents out there, and this was something that I was really shocked that this is actually a Google AI that gave me this answer about the ties to the media, the infiltration. Well, they interact through the media. The Mossad interacts through the media, a calculated mix of military censorship, strategic information leaks, psychological warfare, and utilizing journalists as intelligence assets. When President Trump says the fake news is the enemy of the people, is he referring to this? Again, you decide. But is he referring to this? Journalists as covert assets and dual identities. The Mossad has recruited active journalists or placed operatives undercover as foreign correspondents. The tactic provides agents with an ideal cover to travel globally, access conflict zones, interview high-profile figures without raising suspicion. And then former operatives have detailed navigating back and forth between public-facing media stints and active intelligence reserve duty. Guys, okay, so this is it. And again, people do this and they get paid to do it, right? They get paid in fiat dollars going into the system. Or they get paid in, I don't know, maybe a busload of money comes and gets dropped off at their home. I'm not too sure how they get paid on this. However, I'm sure that they try to keep this under the radar, right? Now, so how, and we're seeing, and again, you decide, I took this person's handle out because he's really going off the radar, but are they also on social media? Now, again, hold that thought about getting the paid part, okay? Because there's something that very big that just happened as well. But on social media, on X specifically, they are they're taking people off of monetization. They're taking, meaning that they were making 5 figures, maybe 6 figures a month, and now they're getting 0 or a very tiny, minuscule amount. So here's one that was all MAGA, pro MAGA, blah, blah, blah. Even Trump reposted one of this guy's posts. And so it gets to their head. Well, this person apparently got affected and is going all like anti-MAGA now, but are they being exposed like this? This guy has really gone off the rails, but at least the people are beginning to see it, right? When Trump is exposing the crimes, the fraud, the treason, and others, he is working on something much bigger globally. And are these people angry now because they no longer have a source of income? I mean, one account had 4 million people that followed him, and he never replies, never responds. You know me, I'm a lurker. And all of a sudden, he's starting to reply to people, and he's starting to explain, and he's starting to show receipts when he hasn't done it for so many years. Is this the beginning of what's going to happen? Because again, social media is part of the media as well. So the foundation had to be set. And this is how the Trump train rolls. Tyro posted this. Scott Pezet just announced the Internal Revenue Service is launching massive audits on financial institutions that facilitated the laundering of Minnesota funds. Check this out.
Civil enforcement is auditing financial institutions that facilitated the laundering of Minnesota funds, in addition to helping support criminal and civil enforcement efforts. The IRS will also soon announced the formation of a task force. Civil enforcement is auditing financial institutions that facilitated the laundering of Minnesota funds, in addition to helping support criminal and civil enforcement efforts.
Man, Scotty B, he just dropped a nuke. Guys, because if everything is funneled into this, they're going to be finding all of their fraud. They're auditing the money launderers. And who are the money launderers? You and I both know. But are there other individuals, right? It's going to be, and is it just in Minnesota, or is Minnesota where it begins and then it spans out to all these other cities? And then President Trump last night, posted this on crypto, and he is pinpointing Gary Gensler. I'll get to that in a moment. So President Trump, his post on crypto, Trump will codify a future-proof market structure that cannot be undone. Deep states, they need their fiat dollars to finance their lavish lives and run their criminal enterprises and activities without a digital footprint. Crypto destroys their lifestyle and it safeguards us. This is what Trump posted. I'm going to tie it. There's a little bit deeper into this. Gary Gensler and the anti-crypto army nearly destroyed the American crypto industry by driving Bitcoin, crypto perpetuals, and innovation offshore. But Trump saved it. America is now the crypto capital of the world, and builders and entrepreneurs are coming back to the United States where they belong. Under the leadership, we will codify a future-proof digital asset market structure that cannot be undone by the crypto haters. The new frontier of finance is being built in America, and Trump, in quotes, will never let crypto down. President Donald J. Trump. Guys, I don't know if you're reading this, but Gary Gensler, he allowed the SEC Security and Exchange Commission to continue their lawsuit against Ripple. That delayed things. Everyone in the crypto industry, or in the crypto world, they were like fighting for this. They were saying, hey, this is wrong, there's no merit. Well, anyway, Ripple ended up winning. And Gary Gensler, though, he kept it going. He could have stopped this SEC from continuing on, but he kept it going. So is President Trump indirectly talking about XRP without saying XRP? Because the moment President Trump puts out XRP blatantly, not through comms, not through hints, not through any clues, just XRP out there blatantly, it's going to be a freaking massive shakeup, guys. But we also know the digital footprint with every transaction around the world is going to be monitored, and our safeguard is in place. Do you see where this is all going? So these are big, I call them GESARA moves, but this is the big one. On the 25th of May, President Trump, he posted that the negotiations on Iran are proceeding nicely. And then this was on the 25th, and yesterday there were some bombings, but they were proceeding. I'm just going to drop down to this part right here because he's talking about the Abraham Accords. I am going to do a separate podcast on specifically this and how it ties into his royal ties. But this is where he actually says, the great leaders mentioned above. Okay, so then he says, they would be honored as soon as our document is signed to have the Iran as part of the Abraham Accords. Wow. Now that would be something special. This would be the most important deal that any of these great, but always in conflict countries will ever sign. Nothing in the past or in the future will surpass it. Therefore, I am mandatorily requesting that all countries immediately sign the Abraham Accords. And if Iran signs this agreement with me, as President of the United States of America, it would be an honor to have them be a part of an unparalleled world coalition. Now, you might be sitting there, and again, like I said, I'm going to go through do a separate podcast just on this truth post because I had time to do some digging, and I'll tell you, I was exhausted after my digging, but it's really big. So Abraham Accords, it recognizes it's an alignment and agreement with Middle Eastern countries, including Israel. There is a bigger part. It's a diplomatic arrangement. President Trump, he started out with Israel and 2 other nations. There are now 5 nations that are signed on. It is a Middle Eastern relationship diplomatic agreement. There is also one for Latin America and Israel. There is an agreement that ties in other countries and Israel. So it all ties in together. But I will do a separate podcast. I'm going to give you something you can go ahead and read it. But this is right here, Abraham Accords. Israel is the primary beneficiary for the reason of agreements exist in normalizing relations with Arab states. I'm beginning to understand why President Trump moved our embassy to Jerusalem. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that because this had so many layers to peel, but here are the other agreements that have already been signed. And it's interesting with IMEC. It is a agreement with India. And guess who just came back from India? Just this past weekend, Marco Rubio, right? Isaac Accords is the same kind of framework as Abraham Accords. However, it ties in the Latin America countries, starting with Argentina, with Israel. Okay, again, you're thinking, well, why are you just kind of highlighting it? It's too big of information. I can't do it on just this. I can't combine these two together because it's just too big. I want you to just stew on this, right? So just from my research that I did, Iran, Cuba, and Venezuela are all omitted from those agreements that I just referenced. Okay, they're not in any of those agreements. President Trump, in his own way, is working on uniting them into an agreement that will help enrich those nations. Now it makes sense how he's targeting Iran, Cuba, and Venezuela. Trump hints about the Middle East as part of America. If they all sign on to the Abraham Accords, how big will that be, right? Is that what he's hinting? And then President Trump's global hints when he had individuals at his office and he had the map of the United States with Venezuela right down here and Greenland and Canada as part of the United States, guys, okay? So Canadians, if you're watching this, I know you're probably doing the Sammy dance right now. Same thing with people from Venezuela. President Trump, he also hinted about Iran as part of the of America, right? United States of the Middle East. Okay. All right. And he doesn't do this jokingly. These are all coming from the real Donald Trump account. And then he also hints again about Venezuela being the 51st state. So it's a lot bigger than we can even imagine, guys. They had a cabinet meeting yesterday, and Marco Rubio, he was talking a lot about Cuba. Check this out.
Cuba's in a lot of trouble because, unfortunately for them, it's run by a bunch of incompetent communists. And being communist is bad. Being an incompetent communist is like the worst. And but the country's been taken over by this company called GESARA that basically controls 70% of the economy. None of the money in that company goes to help the Cuban people, none of it. So we'll be talking to them, we'll be working on it. You know, we want something good for the Cuban people, and hopefully there'll be a good outcome there for them. There needs to be. It's 90 miles from our shores, and having it a failed state 90 miles from our shores is a threat to the national security of the United States.
And then here's Marco Rubio again, and he's talking about Venezuela. Listen to this. I don't know if I'll give you my commentary in a moment. Listen to this.
On Venezuela, that process continues, that three-phase process, of obviously stabilization, recovery, and transition. I would just say, just since January 3rd of this year, okay, and I think this number's right, and Chris or Doug can correct me on this, but I think over 10 million barrels of Venezuelan oil have been delivered to the United States since the 3rd of January. That industry is being professionalized for the first time ever. It's going to the benefit of the Venezuelan people. They are selling oil in the market at market rates. The money's going to an account in the United States, controlled and monitored by Treasury, audited by KPMG, and it's for the first time ever the money's not being stolen. It's going to the benefit of the Venezuelan people. On Venezuela,
Oh my gosh, if this doesn't scream GESARA, I don't know what does. The money is going into the accounts, into the Treasury, guys, all right? So he's talking about the money from Venezuela, from the oil, probably from all of their commerce is being managed by the Treasury, which is really big because when you had those dictators managing the money, they weren't helping their people. The foundation for Venezuela is set. It's getting set, guys, and it's so close. So in my research, I really was exhausted from doing a lot of the stuff on the Middle East, the Abraham Accords, GESARA. It is Trump's version of GESARA. In very, very short, the mass hysteria from the left, from the fake news, it's going to be really big. It's going to be they're just going to lose their minds, bigger than probably what I even expected. So as President Trump pushes for this incredible agreement. And if the Mossad ties allegiance fails and falls, they all fall. Do you see where this is going, what President Trump is doing? When Q says saving Israel for last, it really truly has a totally different meaning. And again, it'll be more clear with the next podcast and whenever I get to that podcast, the second part of this, it may not be tomorrow, it may be next week, because I need to piece some things together. But this has a very, very big message, because saving Israel for last, it has many meanings, but now there's an additional meaning on what President Trump is doing and pushing GESARA. And with that, we know there's going to be pushback. This is Eagle Ed Martin. Beware of fake news spreading Trump exhaustion syndrome, which they are already. KS, they'll shout, too many truth posts, attacks will never stops. They'll say, aren't you tired? They're going to go ahead and wear us down, guys. And they sent out some kind of clever trolls, guys, and they have stay power. So all I'm doing is blocking them because I don't need them in my feed. And they're mean, they're nasty mean. And then he posted again, Ed Martin posted, our time is coming hard. All right. So kind of giving us a little warning, because we know that this whole group, this intelligence group, this horrible people, the group, they're not going to go down without a fight, right? The Obama regime, whatever it is. We don't need many, we need the right ones. Give me 100 men who fear nothing but sin and desire nothing but God. I care not whether they be clergymen or laymen. They alone will shake the gates of hell and set up the kingdom of heaven upon earth. All right. So guys, just get ourselves ready. Now, one thing is that one thing we really do need to embrace is our time right now. So if you need to take a break, take a break. I even read one of Trump's team. It even says, if you have to take a break, meaning go take a break, but come back because our fight is coming. again, this is a 10-year football game word. I guess we're at the half-yard line now. But one of the things, and find something that feeds your soul, with something that joy, happiness, whatever, because there's going to be soldiers out there with the strength to fight. You need to rest. And then it's going to be vice versa. You'll be ready to come out, and we'll be needing to come back and just kind of rejuvenate, capture, get our bearings together, and then go back and fight again, right? So get yourself nourished, and enjoy time with your loved ones. Get nourished with positive people, and just embrace those moments. I am going to share this with you guys. While I was doing my research yesterday, I got sidetracked by this post right here. This kind of humor is so stupid, but I just find it hilarious. You know, these kind of watches. Just watch out, guys. Just watch out. Nimble Guest 115, or it's at 115 Nimble on X, posted Isaiah 5:26, talking about the nations, again on 5:26, as we lift up and sign to the nations from far, and will hiss upon or onto them from the end of the earth, and behold, they shall come with speed swiftly. A different translation of that verse is, I'm reading the second one. He will send a signal to distant nations from far away, and whistle to those at the ends of the earth. They will come racing towards Jerusalem. And let us not forget God's word. He gives his promises to us. This is found in, I just opened up my Bible yesterday and it came to this passage, Psalm 68, 8-12. Let everyone bless God and sing his praises, for he holds our lives in his hands, and he holds our feet to the path. You have purified us with fire, O Lord, like silver in a crucible. You captured us in your net and laid great burdens on our backs. You sent troops to ride across our broken bodies. We went through fire and flood, but in the end, you brought us into wealth and great abundance. Those are God's promises. That is God's word. Have yourselves a beautiful day, afternoon, evening. Know that God's got this, and he's going to be working through incredible people like you, like our president, like his cabinet, to get us to the finish line. Have a beautiful day, evening. Thanks for listening to this podcast, and I'll have another show very soon. Aloha.